Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into week 3 of my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for this next week of action in fantasy football. Honestly, I can't believe it's already week 3 and we're already almost to October at this point of the year. But with that being said, as always, I'm going to dive into my top waiver wire targets, talking about the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex ad of the week. And just in case we do have any first-time listeners, just so you guys do know, these players I do talk about, they have to have at least 50% roster availability per Yahoo League. So there's a good chance that these players are out there when you're searching the waivers and making your claims here tonight. So as like I always do, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the quarterback position. My top quarterback out of the week, I'm gonna go with the rookie down there in Houston, Stroud. He's available in 91% of the leagues. This past weekend, he threw for 384 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Colts defense. I was really impressed watching Stroud on Sunday. He kept on getting hit, he kept on getting back up and going right after the defense. And what I really like about Stroud going forward too is you would like to think that his offensive line is going to get healthy. They only had one starter that was their projected starter heading into the season in this matchup against the Colts. They should be getting Laramie Tunsil back either this week or next week, and guys like Titus Howard should be coming off the IR in the coming weeks too. So once he gets better protection, that's going to allow him to dice up the defenses as well. But in the meantime too, they're not really getting much going with Damian Pierce in the ground attack, and the less they win those first 2 downs, the more the Texans offense is going to have to put the ball in the air. And then also too, that Texans defense is not where it will be under DeMeco Ryans this early in his era, so that defense is also giving up some yardage and points. So that means they're going to be games, especially when they play good teams, that CJ Stroud is going to have to play from behind. I mean, the Colts are not the best team in the world, but the Colts jumped up 2 scores, so that's why the Texans had to keep on throwing the ball. And I could see games like that for CJ Stroud going forward, where you can give you that high level production at the quarterback position. They do got the Jags this week. I think that's a decent matchup if you're looking for a streaming quarterback entering the week. But he's definitely somebody you should have in your mind too for those DFS lineups. My running back out of the week, everybody knows this guy. He's getting talked up. We saw him play last night. I don't have to rehash everything, but it's going to be Jerome Ford, the guy that's going to be taking over for Nick Chubb, at least for the foreseeable future. He's available in 89% of the leagues. Last night against that Steelers defense, he did have 16 rushes for 106 yards, 3 receptions for 25 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. So he would have had at least 20 touches if he catches that last target. So that's something you like to see, a running back getting those 15 plus touches. Now, I will say this too with Jerome Ford. They are going against the Titans this week. I don't necessarily love that matchup for Ford, just because the Titans have such a great defensive front. I could see them bottling up the Browns' rushing attack. But he's definitely still worth the ad, especially if you were a Chubb manager and you just lost him for the season. Now, and a couple other things I would say this. Now, if you are in a league where you have fab money, where you could spend money on free agents, I wouldn't be spending that much on him, just me personally, because I do think they're going to bring in another running back to pair with him. Now, it came out today that Kareem Hunt did visit the Browns, but you also got to keep in mind, if Hunt does sign, let's just say it comes out tomorrow, right? Hunt signs with the Browns. First of all, Hunt's got to work himself back into football shape. I'm sure he's staying in shape, but he's going to have to work himself into football shape. So I do think Ford's going to at least provide value for the next 2 to 4 weeks. Now, that would be a great opportunity to Ford to just dominate the touches, and then maybe that he could regulate a Kareem Hunt to just the role that he had when Nick Chubb was in the lineup, in a backup running back role. So if you were to get Ford and he doesn't indeed do that, that could end up giving you great value where you get a low-end RB2 going forward. But yeah, I think if you ask me who would I rather have, Ford or Hunt, honestly, I would rather have Ford. He's younger. I think he has more juice probably in his legs at this point, and I think there's a reason why we haven't seen Hunt sign with a team to start the season, even though there were teams out there that could have used his services. Moving into my wide receiver ad of the week, I'm going to go with the old man there in Carolina, Adam Thielen. He is available in 62% of the leagues right now. He had 7 receptions for 54 yards, 1 touchdown on 9 targets, so he's getting around that double-digit target range against that really good Saints defense too, that he was able to put up those numbers. Now, I don't really think Adam Thielen's going to be an answer for you to be a week in and week out starter, but with the bye weeks coming right around the corner, you got to keep in mind you got to start planning ahead for your the bye weeks. And I think Thielen's a really good guy, trusty veteran, where you could have him on your roster, and then when those bye weeks come around, you know that he's going to probably lead the Panthers in targets most of the time throughout the rest of the season, barring them trading for an elite wide receiver out of nowhere, right? And then I do like his matchup, though. If you do need a wide receiver to play this week, they are going against the Seattle Seahawks. I could see that end up being a heavy passing game script for the Panthers if they can't get the rushing attack going there in Seattle. And then we have seen the Rams and the Lions were able to move the ball through the air against that Seattle Seahawks defense. So I think he's a decent wide receiver 3, low end wide receiver 2 play this week. But like I said, I think he's really a really good bench ad for you to be prepared for your bye weeks. Tight end ad of the week. He was my tight end ad of the week last week, and he's still available in plenty of leagues, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about him again until we see that roster availability number come down. Zach Ertz, he's available in 90% of the leagues. This past weekend against the Giants, he had 6 receptions for 56 yards on 8 targets. In the first 2 weeks of the season, he has 12 receptions for 88 yards on 18 targets. So he's averaging 9 targets a game. I just want my tight end to get 7 targets a game at least. He's averaging 9 targets a game. I don't see that changing. I think there is that chemistry that has developed there in Arizona between him and Josh Dobbs. Now, and like I said too last week, one of the things I think I like about adding Ertz on my rosters if I needed a tight end is not only he's getting these targets, but I just still can see him with his age, maybe getting traded to a Super Bowl contending team that could use help at the tight end position before the trade deadline in October. So he's providing value now, and then if he can go into a better situation with a better quarterback and a better passing attack, he can give you more higher yards per reception, because he's not really getting that much, but he's still getting peppered with targets, which is great for PPR leagues. Now, they are going against that Cowboys defense. Cowboys defense is great, but again, though, I could see the Cowboys going up on them, having a big, 2 to 3 score lead, where Ertz is going to continue to see those targets because Arizona is going to need to throw the ball often. Not only this weekend, but probably most of the time throughout the season. My flex ad of the week, I'm going with CJ Stroud's fellow rookie teammate, Tank Dell. Tank Dell is available in 95% of the leagues. This past weekend, he had 7 receptions for 72 yards and a touchdown on 10 total targets. So he had double-digit targets. And that also came off a week where the offensive coordinator talked about how he wanted to get Tank Dell more involved in this offense. Now, I do believe that there is a pecking order where it is Nico Collins is the top option right now in the passing attack. And then you kind of got Tank Dell and Robert Woods kind of working and then getting their fair share of targets. I think Tank Dell is a high ceiling ad for your bench. I'm not necessarily rushing to play him. I want to see it play out, right? I don't know if he's going to get 10 targets every week, but like I mentioned about CJ Stroud, I can see this Houston Texans offense having to throw the ball a lot because A, they can't get the running game going, and B, I could see them being down against the good teams where CJ's got to put the ball in the air like he did this past Sunday, and then now he's got this chemistry with Tank Dell. They want to have him involved in the offense, and he's got a ceiling too. With them. And then, like I mentioned with CJ Stroud, going against the Jags got a great offense. I could see the Jags scoring 2-3 touchdowns, going up 17-0 early or something like that early in the game, where the Texans get pass happy. So Tank Dell might be a decent high floor, low ceiling play as a flex position ad. In your flex this week. So yeah, that is my top waiver wire targets. Moving quickly into my streaming defenses, and just like those players I talked about, these defenses have to have at least 50% roster availability on Yahoo, so there's a good chance that these defenses are available in the market for you to pick up off the waivers. Number one streaming defense of the week, I'm going with the Chiefs against the Bears, and that's mainly because the Bears' offense just completely stinks, right? They're giving up a lot of sacks, they're giving up turnovers, and until that situation's fixed there with the Chicago Bears offense, this is a situation you can trust a stream of defense with. Plus, it's the Kansas City just got Chris Jones back on that defense. They looked a lot better in week 2, and this is in KC in a loud environment, so I don't really see the Bears turning that offense around in week 3 against the Chiefs. My number 2 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Jaguars defense against the Texans. They're available in 83% of the leagues. Now, I talked up right CJ Stroud. He looked great and everything. I like what they got in Nico Collins and Tank Dell. But like I mentioned about that offensive line, I think Tunsil might have an opportunity to play, but it's very well that this team could be down to their one projected starter on that offensive line. And then it's going against a very solid defensive front that features Josh Allen that can get after CJ Stroud. That's what the Colts were able to do. The Colts had like 4 or 5 sacks within the third play of the game. They hit Stroud to help cause a fumble. So there's those opportunities. So I think there's sack opportunities and potential to force those turnovers if the Jaguars can put that consistent pressure on Stroud throughout the matchup. My number 3 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Seattle Seahawks defense against the Panthers. The Seahawks are available in 91% of the leagues right now. Now, I will say this, like I mentioned, Seattle's passing defense hasn't been that great, but they are going against an offense that is kind of struggling to get going to start the year. And then this game is in Seattle. So that's in that raucous crowd of the 12s crowd, right? So that in that scenario, you can see the defense feeding off of that, going against an offensive line that's struggling, going against a complete offense that's struggling. So just similar how we saw from the Saints defense last night, I could see sacks and turnovers coming from Seattle, especially in that home crowd environment on Sunday. My number 4 streaming defense, I'm going to go with the Titans against the Browns. Titans are available in 98% of the leagues, and it's just kind of like not like apples and oranges, but that Browns offense, right? It looked like a mess after Nick Chubb got hurt. And like I mentioned earlier about maybe like you pick up Jerome Ford, but maybe you don't really want to slide him into your lineup this week. It's because I really don't like the matchup. The Titans do have a great defensive front. It's led by Jeffrey Simmons. They got Danico Autry on the front, Harold Landry as an edge rusher. So they have a defensive front that can contain and bottle up that rushing attack. And if they force the Browns to pass, we saw what happened last night. That Deshaun Watson was struggling to complete passes, and he was kind of struggling to manipulate the pocket. He was kind of rushing decisions to kind of like run around, and he was running into sacks. I didn't really understand what he was trying to get done at moments of that game last night, and I could just see the Titans kind of doing the same thing and repeating that success against him, and that can get those sacks that we saw. And then like we saw last night too, if you can hit him when he's holding that ball like he does when he runs around, that can get you guys those fumbles. And we saw the Steelers. I lost a matchup because of the Steelers defense. So yeah, I think the Titans defense is going to be could be a sneaky streaming defense this week. Now, my number 5 streaming defense, I decided to go with the Bengals against the Rams. The Bengals are available in 55% of the leagues. Now, their defense isn't playing as high as a level that they did last year, but I am expecting this Bengals team to turn it around. Now, they are going against this Rams offense, which has looked a lot better than expected, so there is that factor in it. But I still need to see this Rams offense as the season goes along. I want to see if these young players on the Rams don't hit like a wall at some point and their production does drop off. So I don't know. In this one, I just see the Bengals defensive front harassing Stafford often throughout the game. So if you aren't able to get the top 4 defenses, I would take a roll of the dice on the Bengals defense. Now, I will say this too. If you want to take an extreme roll of the dice play, is if for whatever reason Joe Burrow can't play next Monday night, maybe the Rams are a sneaky play because I don't like any of the backup quarterbacks there. and Cincinnati. So there's a little sixth streaming defense maybe that you could consider. But yeah, those are my top streaming defenses heading into week 3. As always, guys, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, or you want any my feedback on guys that I did not talk about or defenses I did not talk about, feel free to get into my DMs or get in my comments section. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed or followed any of my social media platforms I'm on, make sure you'll follow me. I'm on X, Twitter, wherever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever. You guys can, I have a link tree that you guys can always click on and go give me a follow everywhere. Other than that, guys, you'll see me tomorrow night when I do my top starts and sits for this week. I'm going to head out. I hope you guys enjoy your evening or morning whenever you're watching this. Peace out.